Hello, I'm Sarah Christine, and I run a global consulting company that partners with changemakers inside corporations. I am also privileged to be an Ortus Club moderator. And with that, I have learned a lot of tips and tricks along the way on how to make moderation the most effective tool in getting that knowledge sharing session to be successful. And I'm super excited to teach you how to moderate effectively. I see the role of the moderator as being the critical component. It's like the hub in a wheel. It is the connecting point. The moderator is the guide. The moderator is the lead. It's the person that creates the safe space. My job to do the least amount of talking and get everyone else doing the most amount of talking. It's also my job as a moderator to go deep, get personal, start to build and break down those barriers as we're only in a short amount of time. I see a successful event that has a really keen moderator. One that has studied what is the topic, who are the people attending, what are they trying to get out of it. It's really the moderator's job to bring that magic, to make that connection for those partners with those potential leads, as well as creating that experience of networking. Before the event, as the moderator, I focus on creating a script. It's really important to have something grounded that everyone can look at and reference. And I usually create a script that has the opening topic, the initial questions. I'll set up the attendees, who's going to be leading and listening in, who's going to be participating in the discussion. So that's really critical, is to understand who you're working with from the partner side. And also we put in intro questions. So I make sure to put that in the script as well so that we can adjust that opening question based on the topic. Sometimes we want to have some interactivity. We start with the poll questions as the moderator and kick off the discussion. Also, there's then the opening discussion questions. This also helps me as the moderator stay on track. Know your audience. The audience is not only the attendees. The audience for me is also the partner and the sponsor. And because we have that shared script, now we can start connecting and having conversations around what types of questions, what types of outcomes, what types of results they're looking to get. So I usually go on LinkedIn and look up my partners, who the people are that I'm going to be connecting. I also do research enough on their brand, understanding who they are, what their goals are, who they are as a company, where they come from, what are they driving to, and then I ask questions where they want to be as well. What are they looking for? So it's a little bit of an interview in the first meet and greet with the partner, and be prepared to have questions to ask. The second part is the attendees. So I usually take time to look over who is going to be in the room. I might have to start at a broader scope to try to get them then go deeper to the topic. But there are multiple ways to get to know the attendees. It's also really fun, so that way it's not such a cold meet and greet in the room. Setting the scene. Setting the scene for me is really doing a little moderator prep. So I like to set up my laptop, and I have an extra monitor. It's highly recommended, especially for virtual. With in-person, I actually print out the script and bring those items with me. And then I tend in person to take a little bit more time, especially get there early. I spend time with the partners, getting to know how comfortable they are. Is there a direction that they want to go? Has anything changed? Now, virtually, we always do a pre-meet where we set up about 30 minutes before. But when I'm virtual, I really like to set the scene where I have my script up. I also open the attendees and the chat box. That's really important to me to see in case people raise their hands, but it's also important for the chat box to be open because that's where I find the partners and sponsors that we can really engage with them there. I am constantly looking at the chat box to make sure that I'm not missing anything. And I take notes. So I'm ready to be listening when the intros are happening. I write down every person's name on the virtual notepad and making sure that I'm bringing those bits of information in that they're giving right at the beginning, because that's such juicy information that we can then tie back to the event during the discussion. And then also having that script available so that I can quickly access the questions. I can easily see where are we supposed to be in the agenda and keeping my eye on the time. During the event, we are guiding the discussion. We are the ones that are responsible not just for asking questions, making sure the attendees are participating, checking the time, making sure the partner is getting what they want, but most importantly, we're there to create a safe space for people to open up. I always start by saying it is my job to do the least amount of talking and get them doing the most amount of talking. So as the event starts, people start coming in, I start taking note who is coming in. And I make sure to note again who is also in the room from the partner and the sponsor, if those names are coming in and out or if they have their video on and off. But I always take note to make sure that I don't call on those folks that are from the sponsor or the partner that are just listening in. So once the attendees come in and you've got your notes with all of their names and their companies noted, this is a great time to just listen. So after taking note, after the introductions, then they kick it off. So the moderator, we get the control. And so at that point, I introduce myself and we get right to it. And if there are poll questions, this is a perfect time to bring in poll questions. I usually read each question. I don't like a lot of dead air. I love getting the energy going and keeping people talking. Again, we only have an hour and 15 minutes. So it's a really critical time to get those connections made. So I take that first question to every single person around the room. The partner and the sponsor knows this up front. So they're expecting to hear every single person's voice when it comes to this opening question, which could be where their strategies are going for such and such for 2022 or those kinds of things. So it's really critical that I keep the connections going. So after the first person talks, I look for some connections to the second person. People can start asking cross questions, they can start raising their hands. So then it's my job to keep integrating from the script those other questions and continuing to ask people, and I keep cycling around the room. So again, as a moderator, it is really critical for us to listen to the answers in order to respond and then take the conversation and pivot where it needs to go. So it's really important for us to be grounded. That's why having set the scene and being as prepared as we can really helps you to pivot, be spontaneous in the moment, and that creates such a more rich and engaging environment. And the attendees start to really pick up their energy and move and get to know each other, as well as then bringing the partner in. So bringing the partner in, I like to bring the partner in organically. I think it is really critical and really important for the partner to have time to connect with the attendees and to talk. So I do that in a way where I let them know I'm going to bring them in. It's really about doing a lot of the work up front and then almost orchestrating like a symphony during and making sure that it's got a nice rhythm where people are constantly connecting, there's constant talking, there's constant movement. So it's also important for me to keep my eye on the time. That's a point where I get to check in and say, hey, we're at the top of the hour. Even if we have 15 or 20 minutes left, are there any burning desires from the audience? It is really important though that I keep my eye on that time because I really do see the difference, especially in the after the event where the partner gets to connect with the leads in the follow-ups. It's really important that there's at least 5 to 7 minutes at the end of the event for the partner to give their gratitude and their thanks. And then we leave them on a high note and the partner being able to say their piece and what they've learned. And then there's also that excitement about connecting and networking and circling back. And again, it's one of those magical moments as a moderator that we get to see people starting to connect and make that crossover, getting the partner involved and then bringing that home and completing it at the end of the event. After the event, I like to close the container. So I create what I call my Hello Gratitude email. This is something where I find that it gives me time to just say thank you, as it's a real honor and privilege to have been moderating these discussions, especially during this time period where knowledge sharing is so critical. So I tend to also add my notes. Remember during the event, we're taking notes on each of the attendees, maybe what their biggest challenges, some of those aha moments and surprises of delights, or just some of the outcomes and results that I witnessed. I put that in that email as well, so that it helps them maybe just a little bit more, can make that connection to those potential leads. And the most critical part that I see after the event is to give yourself a pat on the back. You deserve it. We've just balanced so many different kinds of components. We've just worked the room with many different attendees from many different verticals, helping that connection with the partners. It's a pretty amazing, remarkable experience. Knowledge sharing is something that's really valuable right now. And again, I definitely do reach out sometimes to the partners and clients and I ask for testimonials or feedback because it's always good to grow and it's always good to learn what was the outcomes and how we can then adjust as we go forward. So kudos to you. Moderation is key component in knowledge sharing. It is one of the most critical things that we can do and provide during an event. And I'm so grateful that I've been able to share my how-to tips and tricks. And I look forward to connecting with you deeper. Thank you again for watching these videos. Wishing you all the success in your future events. You've got this.